Hey y'all, welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Thanks for joining us here on our YouTube channel. We really appreciate you being a part of our community here on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed already, we hope that you will. We are going to be following our flock of Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens. So these are broiler chickens, and broiler just means any chicken that's really specifically being raised for meat production. So we specialize in Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens for poultry production, and we've started a new flock. They hatched and moved into Twin Oaks Farm, our place here in rural Southeast Ohio, USA, on August 23rd, 2023. So we're going to follow their growth, and we're going to go all the way through their production cycle, which is out to 42 days. We raise them for 6 weeks, and then we take them to a USDA inspected processor to be processed into wholesome and delicious poultry. So we're going to share all of that process with you through these videos. We did a set of videos all of August 2023 here that we called a countdown to meat bird move-in day, to share with you all of the steps that go into the planning and preparation for having a flock move in. And then it's really exciting when the flock gets here. So we're happy to share that with you, and we're really appreciative that you're part of our YouTube community. Please feel encouraged to interact in the comments on our videos. If you have any questions about anything you see in our operation or systems, or any observations, or just want to share your experiences, not only with poultry, but also with producing your own food and sourcing your own food locally from farmers in your area, because ultimately that's what our YouTube community is about here on our channel, Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. We want to encourage people to find ways and learn new ways to produce and raise and grow their own food as much as possible. And when that isn't practical, to be encouraged to reach out to farmers in your local area, because I guarantee you, whether it's produce or protein, you can find excellent food sources accessible to where you live. And local farmers would love to be your connection to those wholesome and delicious foods that don't have to be shipped around the country or around the world to get to their destination. So thanks for joining us. And if you like the videos, please do the thumbs up. So thanks for hearing me out. We are going to look at the flock, and we're also going to look at our tracking board, because we've documented some new expenses, and I've got them up there. So we want to show you that. We want to show you everything that is involved in this process of raising chickens specifically for poultry, including what it costs us. So we're going to take a look at the flock. So this is basically what we see when we walk into our meat bird production barn. And our barn is a 30-foot by 30-foot wooden structure. And so we've said in previous videos that basically to start our birds out, when you start birds out, you're brooding them. It's called brooding, and where they live is generally called a brooder. And there are different ways to set up a brooder. It does not have to be this way, and this is probably somewhat of an unusual way, maybe one you don't normally see, but it's what we prefer, and I'll tell you why. But I've said we basically have a temporary living space inside, of a permanent living space for our birds. And our goal with this brooder space is to make it easy down the line when they outgrow their brooder space. Especially meat chickens, they grow so quickly that no matter what space you brood them in and confine them in when they're younger, they grow out of it quickly. So our goal is for them not to grow out of this space until about 10 days or 14 days old. And what we'll do is just take down these temporary walls and let them spread out into a bigger area. And that creates zero drama and zero stress when it comes to moving the birds from their brooder space to their growing space. And in our case, they'll also finish production in their growing space. So when we first walk in and we see this, we're basically looking first around the pen. We want to see a couple things. We want to see if the birds are spread out evenly around the pen, and we also want to see if we're using supplemental heat sources like these heat lamps. We want to see how the birds are interacting with those heat lamps. So everything is looking really good as far as the overview of the large picture with this flock. They're pretty evenly spaced around their brooder pen. There are birds interacting with the heat lamps, and you can see how they more or less stay to the outside of that beam where the heat and the light is coming straight down. They'll more or less stay to the outside of it to be cozy, and they'll move further away from it if they want to cool down, and they'll move closer into it if they want to warm up. And in here, they have lots and lots of space to get away from the heat source if they're too warm, but they also have the choice to use it if they're feeling cool. So that's the heat lamps. We also look at the feeders and the waters, and we've already actually refilled and cleaned up feeders and waters for the evening for this group of birds. And so we do have 8 1-gallon waters in there. And I would say at this point we're kind of oversupplying water because we found that they didn't drink it all in 24 hours. And ideally, we do want them to drink the water that's provided for them in about 24 hours so that that water doesn't sit in the pen and get stale or stagnant or overly warm. So we actually, the water that was left in there, we actually dumped them out and put fresh water in and filled them only about half for the most part on the ones that we filled. So they are drinking water. It's very, very important that your birds are drinking the water. And that's another reason we don't want it getting stale and stagnant, because if your water gets stale or overly warm, chickens will just go off of the water. They'll stop drinking it. And we need them to continue to drink because they're eating a lot and they're growing a lot, so they need to be well hydrated. So we also look at feeders. We have 14 of these chick feeder trays, and they've been eating on those. We filled them yesterday, so about, a little over 24 hours ago now. And we've gone through and looked at the trays again and cleaned them up and refilled them. And we have 11 in there now. They had eaten 3 of them empty, so we're letting them eat the rest of these and before we're going to fill them some more. And right now, we just have the bottom pieces of these trays. They have a second piece that will attach to the top and hinges on there and closes. And that will keep the birds out of the feeder trays. So you can see over there, right here, the birds are in the feeder trays. We don't want that to continue, but to get started, we just needed them to know that those trays hold food. It's there for them to eat. When they're hungry, they can go to those food sources. There's going to be food there and they can eat their fill. So they start learning that best if we have the tops off of those feed trays, but then we'll put them back on and the birds can stick their heads through the tops of the trays to access the food, and that'll keep them from standing in there, because it will become messy if they begin to leave their droppings in there, and we really don't want that. But they're eating well, so that's good. These birds grow a lot and grow quickly, so we want them eating enough to support that. And we do feed them a 22% protein feed that is from Kalmbach, and it's a crumble texture, and it also does have an additive in there to help with a health concern in chickens referred to as coccidosis or coccidia, and that's because of a protozoan actually that gets in the intestinal system. So that's basically, that's the highlights of what's going on inside the brooder pen. And they do sleep a lot. The birds are settling into kind of a pattern of sleeping, maybe like 3 or 4 hours, and then waking, going to eat, going to drink. They defecate, take care of their business then, and then they rest again. So let's take a look over here at our tracking board. We have just about a minute left for recording, and I want to show you a couple things up here. We had actually bought some feed, about 2/3 of the feed we need for the flock, and we already had 20 bags here. So some feed and some bedding material was $700 about a week before we moved the flock in. And then the flock moved in yesterday. We settled up our bill on them today. The chicks, 300 chicks plus 5 extra, cost us $615. We also spent $6 on a vitamin and electrolyte solution that we'll probably use in the first week here. So our actual running total of expense is $1,321 so far. So please join us again. We're going to run out of filming time. Thanks for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.